Hello, friends. Brought it out to the driving range today at the Oaks of Valencia Golf Club. Gorgeous facility. In my opinion, probably one of, if not the best driving range in the SoCal area that isn't incredibly exclusively private. And we're on the back of the range back there so that I don't disturb any of the other people on the other side with my rantings and ravings of golf efficiency, proficiency, technique, etc. So I usually begin with a warm up, a stretch. I love side bends. So just warm up obliques, lats, rotational stuff. One of my favorite things is to get some real thoracic rotation, a little T rotation in there. So if I put my finger on my bicep and my thumb on my chest, I don't want my arm going separately because I want to be rotational and pivot driven in the golf swing. So I will hold that there and try and rotate without letting my hips and everything go, trying to create some separation, trying to create some T-spine, coil and pivot. I'll begin this always with a weight transfer, so I'm going to sink into my right leg and just let that pivot and turn and create coil and stretch and open up the hips. If the hips get a little tight in doing so, use the golf club for balance, cross your legs, and just sit down into this thing as much as you possibly can. Create a lot of hip flexor, flexibility, awareness, balance, core, getting into proper warm-up. So first and foremost, we don't get hurt. We can play forever and ever until we're 85, 90, until we're Bernard Langer out there winning shit at, what is he now, 65? He's going to win something when he's 70, I swear. He's got like 42 wins now. So all of us should truly be inspired by him in the game and our ability to play it at a pretty efficient and proficient level for many, many decades. Love the side bend. I'll take a step back, rotate through, try and rotate to the back a little bit, creating more rotational awareness and flexibility. Shoulders, really important for me is forearms. This one's as old as it gets, really. People have been doing this for probably hundreds of years. I don't do it hard, but I let it really rotate me over, stretching out the bands in my elbow to create flexibility and strength. Most importantly, no pain, no tendonitis. Most golfers get some golfer elbow one way or another. Incredibly helpful, incredibly useful. Neck. I often end up hurting something back here in my trap because I get a little armsy and stretch out too much in there. So I work a lot on my neck flexibility. When I'm sitting in the car to help with neck flexibility and strength, I'll push my head back into the headrest and then pull it to the side. I'll hold it when I'm pushing it back for like a good, 5 seconds. There aren't many exercises to strengthen your neck. That's the only one I've found that I can do almost anywhere, sitting in traffic. Similarly, I'll put my arm behind the passenger seat and scoot the seat forward, which stretches my arm out, and to help open up my chest at the top of the swing and create that shoulder rotation that we're looking for in a throwing motion, I'll just pulse it this direction to give myself a little bit more strength behind the shoulder to combat what we all end up doing, which is just over the top. I mean, any 5 handicap or more, any 20 handicap, that's the biggest move in their golf swing. So if we can create more flexibility in that chest and just open it up and create more strength behind the shoulder, it's going to be easier for us to let that elbow work in, not push on the club, and let it follow our rotation. Let it follow the lead of the hips in the ground. Anyway, with all that said and done, always use an alignment stick. Got to know where you're aiming. Half the time in playing lessons, I end up just asking people, where do you think you're aiming? Where's your intermediate target? More often than not, their intermediate target is too far away. They've taken their eyes off of it and they don't know where they're aiming. They're aimed way over there or they're aimed way over there. So an alignment stick, I use the inside of it. So I place the ball on the outside of it. Some people are the opposite. If I have my ball here, my alignment stick is aimed about 5 feet, 10 feet left of my target. The ball is at the target. My feet are even left of that target. So we got parallel lines working for us, the railroad track down the golf course. And we're trying to use that to our advantage to make sure we know we're aimed. When I'm playing golf, after I get to my intermediate target, I look up like once. I am so focused on that intermediate target, I'm so focused on that intermediate target that if I look up, it looks a little different to me, and I often end up closing myself off with wedges. And longer irons, I end up opening myself up. And I am not aimed where I think I'm aimed because my eye is drawn to whatever the architect has put in my way, the trouble in any given golf shot, the water, the sand trap. I am drawn away from my target, but the ground is always going to look the same. That intermediate target to me, it's always going to be a foot in front of my ball. I don't take my eyes off it. The more you watch pro players, they do the same thing. So, alignment stick, incredibly important. Then I just start off with wedges. I get in here and do my favorite drill of where I'm really working on feeling that same thoracic rotation, that same weight transfer, coiling in, letting myself really coil into that trail leg, that flex trail leg, transferring, coil up onto that heel, pushing into the ground, transfer, coil up, transfer, and then go off of the ground. And I do that quite a few times, almost every time I switch clubs. And then I hit probably 20 wedges, 10 9-irons, 5 6-irons, 3 4 5 3-woods, 2 3 4 drivers, and then I'm pretty good to go. And that's maybe 20 minutes warm up. Generally before that, I'm going to go chip for about 15 to 20 minutes as well. And I start with real one-handed stuff in my chipping, making sure that I am square hinging, and I'm hinging up, not rolling it around, not getting that club 2 inside, making me want to yank on the handle. And that's the same kind of hinge that's going to happen in your normal swing. So the more often you work on feeling that proper hinge in your short game, that real release of bounce in your short game, that starts to show up in your full swing, in your full wedge work. And then slowly but surely it gets to the place where it's working in your driver, and you just have more control over your right arm, over what that release feels like, over what a proper hinge feels like, instead of rolling it over, instead of over hinging it. I just feel like I'm going back while hinging up. And if those two are happening simultaneously, club is in front of me, face is square, not open. I've square hinged. Now I can just push down and release that club into the ground and efficiently play chips a la Tiger, Seve, where we feel like we're just putting the bounce into the ground and letting it hit the ground behind the ball and just ride along the ground, letting it release through the hands, feeling the weight of that through there. So after I've done that chip quite a few times and I do come to the long range, I hit a couple of those to really feel release, right? And then I get the other hand on there and just feel like the same thing. I have a real thing with where I grab, and that grab makes me pull on the handle, and it makes me really steep, exposes the leading edge for my short game. So I really grind on feeling my shoulder, like Tiger says, cover the ball, release it. Let that really be what releases. So I feel like shoulders going at the same time I'm releasing the bounce in that direction, always working down. That's how I warm up every time, whether I'm in a play, whether I'm just there to practice. When I'm out at my course, I will do that warm up and then I'll go out and play like 5 holes, 6 holes, 7 holes, 8, maybe 9 holes. Rarely is it 18. At the end of that, I'll come back to the range and I'll work on whatever shots I feel like I missed badly, poorly, didn't play them the way I wanted to on the golf course. And I'll only work on that one shot for about 20 minutes, 10 minutes. I record everything I do so that I can watch it on the way home. Got a magnet on the back of the phone, got a magnet in the car, just put it right there and I just watch it. And I'm like, oh, okay, it looks a little bit better. But without that feedback, without that visual learning that we're all more aware of, that we're all simply better at doing rather than auditory or even kinesthetic, when you see it and you're like, oh, that does look better. Oh, I see what I'm doing there. You know, feel and real aren't nearly the same, and allowing for yourself to watch yourself and have legitimate feedback, it's just incredibly helpful to gain confidence that you are doing the right thing, that what you're doing is working. And it's something to do in traffic so you don't feel crazy wanting to pass everybody and just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. Anyway, proper warm-up helps immensely. Do it the same way every time. Practice like you play. Get behind the shot, walk into it. get behind it again, walk into it. Don't just sit there banging away with a tire iron. It gives you a heart attack. We'll call it a stroke. If you haven't seen Robin Williams golf stand-up bit, I highly recommend it. It's probably the funniest thing. Anyway, toodles, have a great day. Warm up proper. Cheers.